Good evening, everyone. Welcome to District 43 Education Series. Tonight, our topic is how to leverage the Toastmasters brand. And welcome everyone to join us. My name is Lu Zhang. I serve as the Program Policy Director in this program year. It's my pleasure to have a very special guest from World Headquarters, Jessica Mobeck. She will bring us a live discussion, introduction of all the information that you may wonder about how to use the brand, Toastmasters brand. And if you have any question, you are welcome to use the chat function. At the end, we will have a Q&A session. I want to welcome our District 43 PR Manager, Venki, to give a greeting for everyone. Venki.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters Lu. Good evening, everybody. My name is Venki Mandapati, and I'm the PRM for District 43. We are super excited to host Jessica Mobeck to learn more about building brand. It is especially super important building a brand nowadays in this virtual world. I have been with Toastmasters since 2017, and I have learned so many great things about Toastmasters and its brand, and it actually helped me not just build my own brand across both professionally and personally. So I'm super excited, and I'm sure all of you are super excited to also learn about how to move forward building our Toastmasters brand, which also is going to help us both personally and professionally as well. So I would like to take it back to our Toastmasters Lu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Venki. Today, our guest, Jessica. She is the Marketing Project Coordinator for Toastmasters International. Her responsibilities include serving as the organization's brand specialist, as well as managing a variety of projects within the marketing team and in collaboration with other departments. Not only is Jessica employed by Toastmasters, she is also a member of Toasting with Altitude Club at World Headquarters and currently serves as this club's secretary. Please join me to welcome our special guest tonight, Jessica Mobeck.
Thank you all so much. It is a pleasure to be here with District 43 and District 8 this evening. Terrific. And I'm glad that you're all here having the chance to get to know a little bit more about the brand and how we can use it in ways that will help you to grow your clubs and grow your membership. And with that, I'm going to lead right into my presentation. You already mentioned that we'll do the Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, please do type those into the chat if you feel like you're going to forget them before we get to the Q&A. But it's definitely a lot more cohesive if I go through the entire presentation and then through questions. All right, so again, tonight we're talking about branding and how we use it to help grow our membership and to make sure that we're recognizable as an organization. We'll begin by talking about why this brand is important. Of course, the logo, the fonts, and the colors, those are a vital part of our brand, but it's a whole lot more than that. Our brand is how we interact with every single touch point. When somebody at World Headquarters picks up a phone to talk with a member, how you greet your guests in a club meeting, how we structure our convention, create products, discuss business in district conferences. The brand is there when you post and you comment on social media in Toastmasters groups and pages. It flows through your speeches. And of course, it's represented in every material that you create to promote the organization. When we explain Toastmasters to our friends and family, when we're mentoring our members, when we disagree with officers or with other leaders, the words we use, our tone of voice, all of these things do encompass our brand. I'm going to jump right in to answer one of the most common questions that I get. And that would be that if I don't use the logo, I don't have to follow brand guidelines, right? No, as I just explained, it's not just the logo that makes our brand. Every material, every brochure, every invitation, every social media post is a representation of our brand, whether it has the logo on it or not. We still need to use the right colors, the right fonts, pictures, and the right tone, regardless of the presence of that Toastmasters logo. We are nearly 16,000 clubs in 149 countries, with different languages, different cultures. Our brand, our mission, and our purpose is what unites us, and it makes us strong. This is what allows people from all around to recognize us and to know that they are walking into a Toastmasters club, whether it's a corporate club or a community club. This is why it's so important to be cohesive. If each club had a different logo, or if they were using their own colors or their own elements, we would end up being more like 16,000 little organizations instead of one large, powerful one. And as you know, being a strong, instantly recognizable brand has immense benefits for each district and each club. When you start clubs, you're benefiting from 97 years of history and legacy. You can send people to our website. You can tell people that they can visit other clubs when they travel, or now just when they click on a Zoom link. And for us, because you charter clubs, we're all able to tell the people that we have this impressive network around the entire globe. Different brands will adjust and they'll adapt to different locations. They may have different products, different flavors, if you will, but as long as the brand is cohesive, they send a clear message and stand out from the competition. When you see and you recognize a powerful brand, it shows people how global and yet how connected a company is. People get easily what it represents and the benefits that it brings to the table. The Toastmasters brand should do the same thing. So let's talk about what's in a brand. We have different elements, different colors and fonts, and things that show what a brand is and make it recognizable. So anytime you see Coca-Cola, we've got this around the world, you see the same colors generally. You see a couple of different fonts that are used consistently across their products. And of course, the recognizable logo / word mark. Theirs is one that's double. And you know, anytime that you're getting a Coke product, that's exactly what it is. But sometimes brands will somewhat break the rules. And we get this question a lot. Why can Toastmasters break the rules? How come the convention had different colors than everything else that we do? How come a district conference can have its own logo, but a club can't have its own logo? Well, there's little reasons for this. Part of it is that brands will try out different products because they are trying to expand their base. They're trying to reach out to new communities, new members for Toastmasters, and see the different ways that they do it. So how does this turn around and how does this work for Toastmasters? Well, when we try out a new element, like our gradients, for example, that we didn't have for a while, we just had solid colors, and then we introduced some gradients that our members could use. They weren't available to our members ahead of time, and we were using those in our own materials at World Headquarters. Part of that was to make sure that we could easily translate that so that members can use that and make it look consistent with the rest of our brand. Sometimes when you have a company that is trying different products, you'll see different fonts and different things that happen. And sometimes they have sticking power, like Cherry Coke. That one's pretty much a staple. Vanilla Coke these days looks different, but it's got something that we found, or that Coca-Cola has found, is something that's popular with their base of drinkers. Now, there's other things that don't necessarily stand that test of time or that test of just product recognition. So things like the Coca-Cola with coffee no longer exist. Sadly, the Coke with lime no longer exists either. That was my favorite for a little while there, but we do try these things to see what is popular and what might work for our members for the ease of sharing it with other communities, as well as being a parent organization. We have a little bit of leeway sometimes to try out different things. All right, so what if somebody told you that this was a Coca-Cola? Would you believe them? There's nothing here that says Coke. Even if you go back to our last screen here, and you've got all of these products that look totally different than your classic Coke, there are things that just don't look right. And that's what we're trying to avoid when we are having our districts and our clubs and our members create their own materials. We want to make sure that we still are recognizing that this is part of Toastmasters. And I get at least an email a day asking if logos or taglines or those sort of things can be created by different clubs. I know it's fun. I know it's a really cool way to showcase identity, because each club does have its own identity, but it's just not allowed. It has to be something where we can be recognizable together, and we don't want to dilute the power of our brand and create confusion for prospective members or for people who have been members for a long time. District conferences, they have a little bit of a different rule. They can have their own logo and a tagline, but do make sure that you check out the district conference page in the brand manual to understand how you can do this properly. Now, how can we be unique and on brand? I get posters like the one on the left all the time. Now, if you look at this poster, is there anything about it that says to you, this is a Toastmasters club? Would you know at all that you are going to a Toastmasters club? And so that's part of why branding is so important. Now, I do want to say that this was actually from our own World Headquarters Club a couple of years ago. And I don't know if any of you had the pleasure of meeting Alana, who was our last brand specialist while she was with the company, but she was the one that came in and said, no, we can't do this because it doesn't say, there's nothing about it that's Toastmasters. So the following year, we changed the club's name, first of all, but we changed our Halloween open house poster to something that was branded, and we managed to be creative and showcase the fun that our club has by taking a screenshot of our Zoom meeting where we were all in costume. And this is something that I will recommend to people all of the time. There's a lot of power in photographs because it gives prospective members something that they can really relate to. And when you're doing it with your own members in your district or in your clubs, it's the real people that your prospective members will meet. And so it gives them something to hold on to. And that's a really powerful technique that you can use. So photographs, especially if you have ways to take them of people in your clubs doing different activities, are a great way to make unique materials for your club. Brand compliance. So the 101 of this is the brand manual, which you can find on our website. I hope I still have it on here, the link to it at the end of the presentation. But this is really your go-to resource for everything about the Toastmasters brand right now. You'll find your fonts, any brand approved colors, the correct ways that you can use the logo, and all kinds of different information in here. And there's a lot of just smaller information. So I really recommend digging into it and reading everything in the brand manual, even though a lot of times it's a lot easier to just look at the elements, because it will really give you a good overview of everything to help you create really well branded materials. For other materials that you might wish to create, things like apparel, accessories, if you're making videos for your websites, there are proper approvals that you'll need to do to be able to use those. And what we ask is that our clubs and our members and our districts use a trademark use request before purchasing or producing something that would be created by, a manufacturing company or anything like that. And before you roll your eyes at the request, I'll explain why. The reason is that trademark issues are really important. Trademarks exist to protect the names and logos that are used on products and services. And it means that the Toastmasters name and logo are registered and protected to operate in certain environments. This is the same for every brand that's been trademarked, but it's especially delicate for nonprofit organizations. Any material that could merely suggest a partnership could potentially be profitable threatens our nonprofit status. So in a lot of cases, like a walkathon or some type of fundraising event, we can't have control over how the logo will end up being used. We might end up with Toastmasters in the middle of a page that's asking for donations for somebody else, or on a piece of clothing that might have other controversial, political, or polarizing organizations involved in it. And there are ways to join events like these, so definitely reach out if you ever have questions when you're facing this scenario. We'll guide you through it, but we want to make sure that we're really protecting the organization as a whole and the trademark that we have as Toastmasters. There are a few materials that are not allowed to be designed and produced locally. Namely, those are acrylic name badges, ribbons, pins, and club banners. And this isn't only to ensure brand compliance, but it also ensures that we have consistency in the different awards and recognition that we give out. All right, I know this is a lot of information, and right now you might have more questions than certainties. So here's a list of helpful resources. First of all, like I talked about, our brand manual. We've heard your questions and your feedback, and we've tried to put together a tool that really is concise and comprehensive, as well as user-friendly. It contains all the information about creating materials, where to find the elements, and how to process the work, and is meant to inspire you to put it all together. What we also have is a section of FAQs, and they're based on the questions that we see regularly from our members. Second of all, the brand portal. This area of the website will contain the manual, different elements that you can download, marketing resources, and different templates for business cards or flyers or social media posts. And it's also the place where you will find the trademark use request for materials that you wish to create. So it's good to see what that is and to know how that works. Now, something else that's very important to know, especially for our PRMs, is that they should know the policy and protocol 4.0 on intellectual property. And this is the policy that states the expectations regarding the different rules and use of Toastmasters in intellectual property. On the protocol, there's a table that I did show earlier. It details the different kinds of materials and what types of approvals they require and authorizations that they require. And if you have any questions regarding the application of the brand or how to handle different brand issues along the way, please feel free to send us an email at brand at toastmasters.org. It says the brand specialist here. We call it the brand team. Really, it's me. So I try to get through these as quickly as I can. And sometimes it is a little bit slower of an inbox to get a reply in, but I make a huge effort to get through everything as quickly as possible. So that is a crash course in branding, and I am going to stop sharing and open the floor for questions.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I don't see any question in the chat yet, and our Club Growth Director, Jackie, has raised her hand. So Jackie.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Jackie.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us tonight. I do have a question, and I'd like to just kind of clarify for everyone. Can you walk us through the process and how long or the time frame, for instance, if we wanted to obtain the approval?
You bet. That's actually a very good question, because some things do take a little bit longer to get approvals on. A lot of what we discuss in brand with our members is, I would love to say it's fully objective, but sometimes it is somewhat objective, and we have to look at different elements and the way that they're being used and really understand how that message is coming across so that we can decide if something can be approved. So what we look at is, I would say right now we're looking at about a week reply for questions that are about just materials like posts, flyers, those sorts of things. And then if you're looking to produce things like mugs or shirts or something like that, technically the time frame is the same, but we ask for some lenience on it, because if you're ordering, you might need the extra lead time to order. So I recommend doing 2 to 3 weeks out if it's something that you actually need to produce.
Okay, and a follow-up question. So if we're looking to, and I'm just going to throw something out there, to use the logo as it is on a cup or on an item, I'm not going to say a cup because we have cups in the store, on an item that's not in the store, and it's simply just using the logo, will you find that that's going to take a long period of time because it's not anything outside of what's already approved in the brand manual? It's just going on an object that's not offered in the store.
Usually those are easier. What we ask as part of the trademark approval process is to see a markup of the item that you're trying to create. And that allows us to tell if it's something that, first off, is in the store, like you've mentioned, and second off is, just, is it something that makes sense with the brand? We don't want, for instance, a toaster that says Toastmasters on it. And believe you, I get those questions more often than you might think. So we want to make sure it's appropriate to the brand also, but usually if it is something that's just a product that we don't carry in the store and it's got the logo on it, or even say the word District 43 beneath it, then a lot of times that'll be a pretty quick approval. But if you have other elements that you're adding to it, or all the time we see different colors that show up or different fonts that show up. So we just have to be able to have the opportunity to look and make sure that everything does meet those brand standards.
Thank you, Jessica. In the chat, our conference co-chair, David Bernstein, has a question. Where exactly can we find the guidelines for the district conference?
Okay, so the district conference is, that is on page 33 of the brand manual.
Jessica, I have a question for you. So you said your the person will review all the requests, like send to the brand marketing team. Could you provide us a checklist that we can do the self-check before pass to your team? Like what will you first look at, several things that we can, go through it ourselves?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I would definitely be willing to put something together like that and distribute it to our different districts and make whatever we can do to make things a little bit easier. I'm happy. I'm all for it. So yeah, that's something I could probably do in the next, we have so many holidays coming up. I would say by the end of the year, I should be able to get a checklist together with our graphic design team and be able to do something like that.
That would be wonderful. Well, I see our admin manager, Joyce Biddle, has raised her hand. Joyce.
It concerns flyers and concerns newsletters. I've created a flyer for both clubs, and I created the newsletter in another club. But I took the brand manual and I followed the guidelines in the brand manual. I don't need y'all's approval for that, do I?
So if you followed everything in the brand manual, technically, no, you don't need to submit for approval, but I do recommend it because it just gives us a chance to make sure that there isn't something that is being interpreted differently than we might interpret the brand. And I think a lot of people sometimes worry about, oh, it's the brand police, they're just going to tell me no. But what my goal is when I'm working with members is to help them learn and to say, okay, well, this part, most of this is fine, but then there's a little font over here where something's different. And I see a lot of it. So I do recommend just sending it in. And occasionally I get those great times where I'm like, all right, this is fully brand compliant. You go right ahead and use that for your clubs. And does that help?
It does, because I want to make sure because when I created both of them, well, the two flyers and the newsletter, and I also did the newsletter, the past newsletter for the district. So I wanted to make sure it's okay.
Yes. I will say a lot of times, depending on what you use to make the newsletter, I know that there's certain templates that sometimes have pre-populated just different elements in them. If you're using a template, I wouldn't worry about.
I did the blue one for my club and the burgundy for the district.
Okay.
So that's the only difference. Okay.
Yep, that's absolutely okay. You actually just brought up a really good point that I want to make. If you're doing something that's directly from one of the templates that we provide, don't worry about submitting that because that's already gone through the brand approval process as we've created it. So unless you are trying to change something on there, that doesn't require any additional approval.
And that's the same thing I did with the flyers. I pulled down the template from the brand manual. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, you're good. Thanks, okay. Joyce.
Thank you.
Jessica, David has a follow-up question. Are there unique guidelines for audio material, for example, radio spots?
This is interesting because we actually had this question come up a little bit earlier today. Somebody was asking it. So right now, there are not that I know about, but we are actually reaching out to our PR specialists to find out if there's something that we don't know about in either trademarks or in brand on our teams to see if there's any additional rules that need to be followed for radio spots or for television spots.
Well, there are rules relating to how, when you have a catchphrase or when you have a slogan,
right,
they do need to be exactly followed. So, you know.
Yes, so you wouldn't want to create your own slogan, nothing like that. The only tagline that Toastmasters allows, other than for district conferences, is where leaders are made. And so that piece of it, yes, there's rules around that are pertaining more to brand, but I don't know if there's additional rules that have anything to do with the fact that it's a radio spot. And that's kind of what we're checking into to make sure that we get that. But David, if you could you put would you mind putting a message to me with your email address into the chat? And then once we get that answer from Dennis, hopefully tomorrow, he'll be able to answer that for us. I will be happy to email you.
I sure will.
Thank you.
We have a few leaders from outside District 43, I just want to make sure we welcome everyone. And if you have any questions for Jessica, this is a wonderful opportunity. And it could be something you have like faced in your district, any questions you might have.
Hi, hello everyone. Greetings from District 56. This was such a wonderful presentation. We're so glad to be engaged and have awesome Toastmasters for help and support so that we can all learn and grow together. Thank you so much, Jessica, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you, Club Growth Director Jackie, for inviting us. This has been fantastic. Thank you all. We've learned so much and we want to make sure we are brand compliant. It does matter. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Charla.
Thank you, Charla.
I have something I'd like for her to expound on. Can you expound on our brand not being limited just to print? I mean, I know that you explained it, but it would be good to hear it again to talk about the entire brand holistically.
Yeah. So our brand it's really every little thing we do is Toastmasters. It's how we talk to members and to prospective members. It's how we interact with each other in disagreements or in planning different events in your districts and in your clubs. And it expands beyond just the things that you see. It's really in your attitude and the way that you're approaching everything. And so that's kind of the Cliff's Notes version of what we're talking about with that. And I guess it kind of goes into David's question about radio. You wouldn't want to change and make a different slogan. It's like, hey, where speakers learn to talk, or that's pretty bad, but you wouldn't want to change those things that make it so recognizable as an organization. One way you could look at that is what is McDonald's? I'm loving it. So if all of a sudden it was just something completely different, you wouldn't associate that anymore with being McDonald's. And so that's kind of what we want to achieve. We have a ways to go for Toastmasters, to be honest, to be able to gain that global recognition. And so we want to make sure that we're doing the things at our levels that will help to build on that and increase that recognition.
Thank you, Jessica.
You bet. Thanks, Jackie. I actually want to bring one more thing up, if that's okay, because
Sure.
something that you're going to experience is you're going to have people that don't do it right. And when that happens, really, the things you can do are give them guidance in how to do branding properly. If you think they have additional questions, refer them to our brand team so that we can come through and answer questions for them and help guide them in the right direction. Like I said, that's really what I'm trying to do most of the time, is say, this doesn't work, but here's something you can try that would work, and give them the direction, because most people aren't creating products or materials that aren't branded out of spite. It's more out of just not really knowing how to do it most of the time. But then if you do have people that continue to ignore it, make things that are just completely not branded, then go ahead and still refer them my way, and we can take whatever steps are necessary to support you in that.
Thank you, Jessica, for sharing that. And some of our participants here are area directors. So I want to ask for your advice. A lot of us, when we work above club level, we have more opportunity to work with the social media material, the flyers. But what kind of message should the area directors and all of us here pass to the club level?
That's a more complicated question to answer. So thank you for that. I think the message you really want to get across is creating that cohesiveness and letting people understand the reason that it's important to make sure that they are keeping things branded. That's usually the thing I see that holds people back, is that they want more than anything to be unique. They want to showcase their creativity. They want to showcase different skills that they're trying to learn in design or those sorts of things. And especially in the cases of your different clubs that you're supporting, they're wanting to showcase the personalities of those clubs. And if you can help them understand why it's important that they still relate to Toastmasters, then that's usually the thing that's going to kind of help bridge that gap so that people will want to try a little more in creating branded materials.
Thank you, Jessica. Because all our different districts, we are going to have our TLI. So this is important message we can definitely pass to the club leaders. I see another hand in the gallery. Rhonda.
Hi, this is Rhonda Maddox. Thank you so much for a lovely presentation. I'm a little bit anxious about asking this question because sometimes you like to say, well, I didn't know, and I'm about to expose that I know once I ask this question. So we have a slogan in our clubs: friends don't let friends give speeches without Toastmasters. I don't know if that's considered branding or not, but it is something that we share and that we say frequently. And that's our way of saying, invite a friend to join our club. Now, I've never thought of that as branding, but it is our strategy for increasing our members' interest in inviting someone. Would that be considered branding that is incongruent with what you all are trying to do, or what we are trying to do? Excuse me, not you all, but what we are doing?
So Rhonda, what I would say is that if you're using it, just jokingly in your meetings and that sort of thing, then you're okay to use it. The second that you take it and you're trying to use it in your advertising or in your promotion of different events, that's where it crosses that line into looking like a slogan or a tagline that you shouldn't use. So that's kind of the different, like the thing that makes it different when you're doing that. There's nothing that says that will stop you from saying, hey, this is what we do in our club. And people will say that in different ways, like just as part of the meeting. So that's where you want to make that distinction.
Okay. So it is something that we will sometimes have on our Facebook post. Friends don't let, remember to invite a guest, or remember, friends don't let friends give talks without Toastmasters, invite a guest. And that's that. But I think it's a safe place. And I was a little bit hesitant to ask because I almost don't want to know if it, what I'm really saying is, please don't take that away from me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I would say also in your your Facebook posts, there's two different things going on in a Facebook post, right? You've got the post, you've got the thing that's the picture, the thing that people are looking at. And then you've got that little blurb where you're just talking at the top. Mm-hmm. And that's where I would place that, where it's just part of what you're saying, but not in the post itself.
Yeah. So we place that in the discussion, but it's not on the beautiful little picture piece, if that makes sense normally.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I got a follow-up to Rhonda's question, because we kind of use that in our flyer. Is that considered a tagline? Because the way we have it in our flyer is we say what our club is about, and then we have a line that says, friends don't let friends speak without Toastmasters.
I'm afraid so. In that situation, it does become a tagline and shouldn't be used in that way. But I would, again, if you're looking to use it in your banter when you've got guests in the club, use it in that discussion part of a social media post, but don't use it in the flyer itself, because then you're getting away from the Toastmasters taglines and the elements of the brand in that. And here's another thing. I'm not going to ask anybody to retroactively take something down. So if it's something that's back in your post someplace,
but we haven't posted it yet.
Okay, I would just remove that part of the flyer. And if you're open to it, let's take a look at it. And if you're open to an evaluation, because actually sometimes this is a really good way for people to learn how we do our job and how we look at things. Yeah. So the top, yep, I see that it's the templated flyer, and then the friends tell us. I think it's funny, and this is the part that's painful for me in my job, is that I see so many things that are really fun and really creative, and then I'm like, well, We can't use it because it's too much of a tagline. So
Okay, so the top line, the top two lines we have to take out.
yes, yeah, you would need to take those out. The pictures are great. Telling people to invite a friend, that's great. You're giving them the type of atmosphere to expect, and that's wonderful. And then your meeting location and everything else, and those are all terrific things. I do notice that the bottom of this one still has the world headquarters address on it. So if you can change the footer, I would do that.
Okay.
But that's usually the type of advice I give. I'll just go through and I'll look at all of these different elements, and then I'll try to explain the reasons why certain things can or can't be used. And then if I catch something like the address at the bottom that might confuse people, or I'll catch a misspelling sometimes, that sort of thing, then I'll point those things out too.
What if they put that line further down, maybe smaller print, so it's not as like a title, but it's more part of a text? Would you accept that?
I would still honestly probably look at that and say it sounds like a slogan and say take it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if they make it a sentence? Like, we never let our friends speak without Toastmasters.
This gets into tricky, muddy waters, but sometimes, yes. Sometimes it can be changed in a way where it becomes a sentence so that it's no longer like a slogan. And usually if it's more like that, then I will approve it.
Is it more the problem that you're using the word Toastmasters in the sentence?
Not so much the fact that the word Toastmasters is in it. It's more, I wish I had a good way to explain it, because this gets into that whole, like, there's parts of this that are subjective. And when a slogan is supposed to be like a catchy, quick phrase to help people remember things. So where leaders are made, that's the Toastmasters tagline. It's the thing that's supposed to be the catchy, like, okay, right, this is Toastmasters. And what happens is I look at this the same way, where I'm like, okay, friends don't let friends speak without Toastmasters. And I'm like, oh, that's a catchy phrase that we're trying to pull people in with. But it has the word Toastmasters in it, but it isn't necessarily Toastmasters. I wish I had a better way to explain that, but I really don't.
May I show you something as well?
Sure. Yes. Okay. So this one has got a few things going on that I would have to reject as being brand compliant. First off, what we've got going on is there's some fonts that aren't approved fonts. The colors, there are colors on here that aren't Toastmasters colors. And then the background on this one is tricky because it's a photograph, but I can't tell if the trophy is a photograph or if it's a clip art. Clip art is not permitted. Photographs are permitted, but normally we will recommend that if you're putting a photo of a trophy on, that it's a photo of a Toastmasters trophy.
We actually looked at this and thought it was okay because we didn't have the whole Toastmasters logo on there. But you're saying if we mention Toastmasters, period, stick with the fonts. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Ah, okay. Well, that because the whole reason the Toastmasters logo isn't on there is because we thought that meant then we didn't have to adhere to that.
Yep, and that happens a lot. I get that question all the time.
So aside from all of that, now if it's friends don't let friends give speeches without Toastmasters, be a friend, invite a friend, and extend an invitation, blah, blah, blah. Is that considered taglining or something? So minus the other stuff? Does that make sense? That question makes sense?
Yeah. You guys have thrown me a curveball with this one, because the way that it's presented here in kind of a paragraph of things going on, it turns itself away from just being that snappy little line to get people out. This is also, I'm going to ask you a question. Is this something that you're using internally with your members to remind them?
Well, it is, we celebrate whoever invites the most guests. Our club growth director has something called Members Matter, and we have incorporated that into our club. So at the end of each month, we put out a trophy like this right here and say, hey, this is the person who invited the most guests. If you invite 16 guests and somebody else invites 2, but there are 2 join, then that the person who have the 2, has the 2 people who join, they win automatically. But it's our incentive to get people to come. So we really are growing the club without money, just by giving personal recognition, saying, hey, this is the person who invited the most guests.
So are you sharing this during the club meeting, or are you sharing it?
We share it during the club meetings, but we also share it because you want to be able to say on Facebook, hey, I got this. So in the comments, I'm talking noise about me winning to a couple of the other officers. I mean, like we have fun with it. We're petty is what I'm telling you.
I love it. I like a little competition, and I like a little bit of fun.
We're competitive, not petty. We're competitive. We have fun with it.
What I would say is that if you're using it in places like social media, I would change it so that you have the branded fonts and you have the branded colors. You can still have fun with it and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and be able to have that smack talk in a way that you're sharing amongst your members. But what happens is if you change the colors so that they're branded colors, the fonts so that they're branded fonts, then if somebody from the outside is looking in, then they're like, they have that trigger in their brain that says, oh yeah, this is Toastmasters. Right now, when I look at it, that's not the message that it sends to me. I just see that there's some kind of contest going on, and it looks like fun, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, I got you.
So Jessica, is it safe to say this is the reason why we always seek for approval? Because it can be.
Because it can be.
It can be a yes in one case and a no in another case with the same wording, just depending on intent. Got it.
And also just the different interpretations of it. So like you guys were talking about, you thought, hey, this is okay because you're not using the logo. And so those are the things that we're looking for. And we're like, well, no, the logo's not on it, but you also don't know it's Toastmasters just boom at a snap. And so that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, well, how often do we get World Headquarters representative to really have a close look at our materials? Yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
All right, Jessica, take it easy.
The good news is I don't bite. So the 5 and the color of the gradient would be not brand approved.
Okay.
Because they're not branded colors. You could easily interchange the gradient with the one that is brand approved in the brand manual.
Okay.
See, this is where my job gets so hard and where I spend a lot of time, because that Thrive with 5 would be, if you were using this as a tool to get members to come to your club, then it would be a tagline. But what I'm seeing here is it's actually a contest for your members to grow the club and to have members come to the club. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. So if this is going between your members, not on your social media, then you can use it. But I would still change the branded elements so then even your members recognize that, yeah, okay, this is the Toastmasters thing that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I would like to see the new product, Jackie, and put them side by side so I can see the difference when you finish.
Oh, I'll
just
send
share
it
with all of us.
Yeah, I'll send it back to the person that created it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can see it.
That's a great idea. We can compare like before and after Jessica's feedback.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Tony in the chat asked, well, it's already answered, like what's the turnaround time from the request for approval Jessica has shared, like Jessica, you said, right, usually like a week, but you recommend we submit 2 to 3 weeks in advance.
Right, depending on what you're making. So if it's like a poster or a flyer or something like that, that you're just taking that and you're posting it, then right now I'm trying to get through things in about a week. If it's something where it's like being produced, so it's a t-shirt, it's a mug, it's a pencil, things like that, you would want to try to aim for like 2 to 3 weeks for. So if there's back and forth that we need to have about what the product is, whether it's something that's available in the store already, there's little rules around it that sometimes take a little bit of extra time. Plus, we want to be able to give you the lead time that's necessary to create that once the approval happens. So that's why we want a little more time with that.
This is the first opportunity I've had to sit in on a conversation on branding, because when we were really pushing for memberships, we were kind of told that it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, right? Because it would take so long for you all to send the approval back. And I think this was on a t-shirt. So we just kind of did it anyway. So what the repercussions have been?
What are the repercussions of it? Most of the time it's a hand slap, if I'm being honest about it, but it can have repercussions up to and including losing a club charter. So it kind of depends on what the situation is, what was happening, what type of communication we were able to have with the clubs.
Wait a minute, what did you say about club charter?
So it could, the repercussion for not going through the channels would be up to losing a club charter. Has it happened? I have never done that, but our trademarks team, I don't know, they may have had a situation where it's had to happen before. So, and usually it's because like people are being blatant in not adhering to branding guidelines, and they continue to do that over and over. So it's not like anything like that'll happen on a first offense, but it is something that can be a repercussion.
Thanks for that clarity. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yes, even after getting your hand slapped, continuing the same behavior is what you're saying. The
Right.
same. Okay.
Right. Yeah. If we're seeing the same clubs, the same districts, whatever the case might be, just blatantly disregarding things over and over again. And we know we've had conversations and have tried to show people the right way to brand things, then, you know, there are different consequences that can go up that ladder. So.
Thank you, Jessica, for bringing us all aspects of the branding information and knowledge, and especially the firsthand experience. And also, I feel so thankful that we have members here and our club growth director share the flyers, the material that you can give the instant feedback. And also, thank you for everyone who visits us from outside the District 43. Thank you for joining us. This really shows like Toastmaster, we learn together. We are a big family. And thank you again, Jessica, for visiting us, for your time. Here I will conclude today's event. The speaker view version will be shared on YouTube as part of our District 43 education series.